Okay,
just a second.
wait
Just
a
a
left
second.
lane. We can still use Newton. Okay, dude, the whole point is that Newton and Einstein's gravity are different. And so, yeah, if you took away space-time, you could still use Newton. I agree. But you couldn't still use Einstein, which was the whole point. They're fundamentally different.
That's what he's trying to say, but look at what he's got to do in order to even try to make that case. He's got to say, well, if we didn't have space-time, which is, according to relativity, what the entire universe is made of.
First of all, that's not what I have to do. I just thought
it is what you have to do.
I thought even you couldn't be so overtly dishonest intellectually that you would obfuscate that question, because I could also just say it this simply. In one of them, there's only one constituent part required for gravity, and that is matter. In relativity, there are two constituent parts: matter and space-time. They are different.
No, they're not.
Okay, then you're just
there's
There's
a
reason why. There's a reason. Be quiet for a second because you haven't answered the question once yet. There's a reason why whenever you watch any kind of documentary on Einstein or relativity, they say it was one of the greatest leaps forward in human thought and paradigm.
Yeah.
They call it a paradigm shift. Yeah. A paradigm is a worldview. So the whole worldview had to shift when Einstein came up with relativity. It's definitely not the same thing. No one even makes that argument. Why are Globers making non-arguments all of a sudden?
So the reason why
because we point out the problems with relativity, so they still need to invoke Newton.
No, there are no problems with relativity. There are no problems with relativity, none that you've pointed out. And the reason why I'm making this point is because I think it's super important for to make it clear that what you're trying to accomplish by saying that these two things are in contradiction is not actually a contradiction.
You just keep saying
so let me answer Noah's question.
Why?
I'm about to pull into my house. I'm about to pull. Hey, Carnivore, can you chill for just a sec? I'm about to pull in my house, so I'm gonna have to back out of here. But I'm gonna answer his question. The reason that they do this is because they need to be able to still invoke Newtonian gravity. Because when we point out the issues with relativity, they want to fall back on Newton and claim it's true. And another reason for that is because it's simpler and easier for them to pretend to understand, and they don't have to get into the nuances of what relativity requires to be true. So they have to keep, long story short, they have to keep Newton at the chest and protect it. They can't let it go. So now the way that they do that is to try to claim that they're the same. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. All right, I love you guys. I'll jump back on here in a little bit.
The cake is delicious. So, no. Why?
That was a good point you brought up, Noah. That was definitely a good point, though. Because it was a paradigm shift, which means the previous paradigm before relativity was different by definition.
So I agree that it was a paradigm shift, but
like
not
in the Middle East.
Not like in the Middle way East that you are understanding.
Hold on, Omnivore. Hold on, bro.
What the fuck is wrong?
Go ahead, Noah. He just talked right through you.
I was just gonna say, like a perfect example of a paradigm shift is, accordingly, like 1,300 years ago, there was a guy named Muhammad, a prophet. He went into Mecca and destroyed 99 idols or whatever and left like a cube. So they had to remake an entire city and all of its idols when a paradigm shift happened. Another paradigm shift would be like when Europe started colonizing the rest of the world. That was a paradigm shift in operation. They went from mercantilism to colonization. Paradigm shifts are extremely different. It's when there's two worldviews that are extremely different. Like going from medieval Europe to the Enlightenment, they call that a paradigm shift. It's when the whole worldview goes out the window and you have a whole new worldview. That is what the top scientists today say about Einstein's relativity in comparison to Newton. That it was a paradigm shift. It was a completely different worldview.
Okay, so do you know why it's a paradigm shift? Or is that just something you're repeating here because...
Well, we were trying to go through it.
Please don't address me. Please stop addressing me. And I don't like when people address me, say, do you know what this is? Do you know what that is? But it doesn't matter what I am, or who I am, or what I know. It just address what I say, sir, please.
Well, I would like to, but I think that in order to do that, we'll have to understand what it is you do know.
Okay,
So,
what is the paradigm shift that happened? How about you explain it for the room?
So it's a paradigm shift because what it did was it took a number of different already existing ideas and it brought them together in a way that made extremely powerful new predictions all over the place. A ton of new predictions which could be tested and validated. And a ton of predictions that could be tested and validated.
It's pretty vague.
Well,
you get any more specific?
I can walk you through them. I can walk you through them. Do you want me to walk you through the predictions it made? What people
experiment that was tested.
Sure.
If you do that, Omni, I'm going to walk you through all the ones that did not work.
Time dilation. Okay. Go ahead. Your turn.
My turn?
Yeah.
How about when they looked out at the Como cluster, Fritz Zwicky, 1933, and found that it was missing 99%
don't interrupt
of the mass needed.
It's the missing mass, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys call that a discovery, right?
So, sure. I call it a discovery.
But really, it was just a failure, an unbelievable failure of the concept of relativity.
So,
almost. Prediction,
hold on, Omnivore.
Would that be a failed prediction, Omnivore?
Wait. I want to ask Register. So, what exactly was this observation, Register? If you want to explain it fully, in 1933.
Sure. 1933, Fritz Zwicky. He looked out at the Como cluster of galaxies. He noticed that they were spinning way too fast for the mass that they had. He calculated that it only had 1% of the mass needed in order for the cluster to stay together and not just shoot off into randomness. Therefore, relativity in this situation was off by 99%. So instead of them saying, wow, that is pretty awful, let's try to rework this, they were in too deep, so they decided to just call it a discovery of dark matter, which we can't see, smell, taste, hear, nothing, detect in any way. So the discovery of dark matter was literally just an observation that totally failed in accordance to general relativity.
So they made an observation, it didn't work with their math, and instead of throwing out the math, they ad hoc dark matter as an explanation.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
One of many
just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Specifically gravity.
Yeah, not true. That's not true, actually.
That's absolutely true.
Misunderstanding. Yeah. It's a misunderstanding of how they addressed the missing mass issue. So the way that what actually happened, and I think we see something similar here between the how the discussions around Neptune and stuff, where things are reinterpreted in a way that in order to support a particular narrative.
Are you just going to speak in generalities, or are you going to actually address Register's point?
I will 100% address
dark matter is actually one of the dark matter. All right, you were clearly done.
How about let him finish?
Is actually one of the dark matter was actually one of the most. He was clearly not talking. Beast was talking, then Beast stopped. Dark matter is actually one of the textbook's greatest fucking examples of an ad hoc explanation. It is actually. I can't even think of a better example of an ad hoc explanation than dark matter. If you could think of one, let me know.
Sure.
Dark energy, bro.
So it turns out that that's actually not the case. It is the story that you've been told, but it's not actually what we observe in.
You give an example of an ad hoc explanation that's better than dark matter.
Dark matter is
the best.
Dark matter is not an ad hoc. It's not an ad hoc observation or
ad hoc explanation.
It's not an ad. It's not an ad hoc explanation.
Can you give a better? Okay, can you give a better example of an ad hoc explanation than dark matter? Can anyone?
I'll think about it.
I'm not even asking anyone. Can anyone on the panel?
Sure.
I gave it already, bro. I gave it already.
How about
the raisin? How about the raisin?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Bro, listen, because they were over talking me.
Stupid.
Dark energy it beats it by like, dark energy is like 70-something%. So if you want a bigger fantasy, Noah, dark energy.
Well, could Omni at least finish what he was saying?
So, sure.
Did you stop
probably not.
Ever?
I would imagine that I probably cannot finish what I was saying.
No, you can finish. Go ahead, finish, but don't monologue, please, Omni.
Yeah,
short and sweet.
Please.
Okay. All right. So, what happened with dark matter? So you're right that the missing mass caused, was a case where they said. That's not answering
my question.
I'm answering the question. What they said that this isn't working.
That is not
right?
the answer to my question.
We see it is when they looked at the missing mass issue. They said, this is not what we would expect to see. Something weird is going on there. And they could have, and I'm sure people did consider, and in fact have considered every year since then, throwing away the theory and starting over. You guys realize that there's, hundreds of physicists working every day to throw away relativity and start over, right? I realize it's not popular to say around here, but it's actually what's going on.
I thought it was the most proven theory of all time.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. Yes.
Yo, wait, this guy's done. You're done. You just fucking finished, dude. This is ridiculous how we can get muted, but this guy keeps going on. That was a complete deflection from the fucking question at hand. The question at hand is, can you give a better example than dark? I'm going to include SE. I'm going to include SEs because it's basically the same thing. Can you give a better example of an ad hoc explanation than dark matter or dark energy? Can you give a better example?
He was actually answering someone else's question when you came in with that question. You never got to finish the question.
Right
so I'm going to talk just like you're talking. He never got to finish answering the question that he was asked before your question.
If he doesn't think that dark matter is ad hoc, isn't that question kind of weird?
I don't think it's ad hoc. That's why.
Hold on.
Left Lane, we have over a dozen mods in the room right now. We don't need your assistance. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting him know, Benjamin. But
okay,
dude,
somebody do something. Tell
that guy to be quiet. This question's been asked 4 times now. Can anyone single-handedly give a better example of an ad hoc explanation?
You don't have to repeat the question.
Than dark matter, dark energy.
We're on it.
Because they can't do it. They can't do it, can they?
Because it's not an ad hoc explanation.
All right. Explain how it's not an ad hoc explanation rather than just saying that.
Yeah, believe me, I'm always happy to explain why I think something I think.
I don't believe you.
I know you don't.
Go ahead and explain.
I know you don't, but it's okay. So the reason why it's not an ad hoc explanation is because it would have been if they had coined dark matter as a whatever you want to call it, as a rescue attempt for relativity.
It's exactly what it was.
It's a mathematical placeholder.
That's exactly what it was, though.
Does he know what's the definition of ad hoc? Because I'm guessing he doesn't know. Because I mean,
no, I know what the definition of ad hoc.
What does it mean? What is the definition of ad hoc?
It means something that I have come up with without a justification. Basically, a band-aid or explanation that I'm slapping onto the theory without a reason.
It could be for anything.
Okay, sure. But we're going to keep
going. It could be created or done for a particular purpose as necessary.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened with... Sorry. And that's exactly what happened with dark matter and dark energy. It was created for a particular purpose as necessary.
Not true.
Elbow, take your pills.
Okay,
that is not true.
Fuck off.
Let me get in here.
I'm sorry, but it's not. I mean,
let me get in here. Wait. No, not Omni. Not Omni, because what he's doing right now, I'm going to explain what he's doing. It's called a no true Scotsman fallacy. What he's doing is he's just saying, nope, that's not an ad hoc explanation. And so my question of giving another ad hoc explanation is so that we could actually have a standard of what ad hoc is in the convo. He refuses to give an example of another ad hoc explanation because if he did, he would have a standard to live up to, and dark matter, dark energy wouldn't actually live up to that standard, and thus his original argument would be proven wrong.
So what he's doing is he's ad hocing his way through this ordeal.
Let me explain why it's not ad hoc. Let me explain why it's not ad hoc. Maybe that will help you. Well, I've been trying. So the reason it's not ad hoc, you could have said it was ad hoc at the time when it was the missing mass problem. That could have been the case. However, as we are now in 2024, what we have is a lot of information that actually supports the dark matter hypothesis as stated. For example, gravitational lensing is an example that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Bro, it's
gravitational lensing is the exact same thing that
doesn't work.
No.
Say something.
Gravitational
lensing is the exact.
Wait, he just admitted it was an ad hoc explanation.
Real fast.
If dark matter
let me
had
say
been
this
created,
real fast. Gravitational lensing is exactly the same problem that happened with the coma cluster. Okay, because they predicted a certain amount of gravitational lensing based on the relative masses using relativity, and the lensing effect was way too strong or way too great. So they added mass.
That's not what I'm talking about. See, I know that you are going to have a problem with that. Yeah.
Omni, it's exactly the same.
No,
Every
it's not.
single example of dark matter is a failure of relativity. Every one.
It's not. I'm sorry. No.
Yes, it is. I just specifically explained what it is. The gravitation.
Basically, I'll explain why you're wrong with it. I'll explain why you're wrong. So the reason why you're wrong about gravitational lensing is that it was one. What is that? What we see today? What we see today is the lensing effect without seeing the matter causing the lensing effect. So it's not a case where we see, that galaxy should be lensing more than it is. That's not what actually is going on there. What we're actually seeing is a case where we see what we recognize quite plainly as gravitational lensing, but we don't see the lensing agent.
You're not even. What are you saying right now, dude?
First of all, majority of the gravitational lensing that dark matter is invoked for, you can see the lensing agent. Okay, and even without that, it's still another assumption. It's an assumption that mass is what's causing it, right? Mass causes it. Since you can't see the mass, and your theory and belief requires that mass be causing it, you have to invent invisible mass. Thanks for playing.
No, I mean, we know what gravitational lensing looks like. I understand that you can cite, anything you want to cite and just always be driving. I got it. That it's very clear.
Well,
what does gravitational lensing look like? What does gravitational lensing look like?
It could look like a Einstein ring or an Einstein cross.
Okay, so light moves.
Light moves in a very, very specific way. You know what those things look like. You're hoping other people in the call don't.
A cross.
You're hoping
a ring.
You're hoping that other people in the call don't know what it looks like, right?
What? No, it looks like a cross and a ring. That's why it's called that.
Yeah, that's correct. It does look like a cross and a ring. You're right about this.
Okay, but you don't see the mass. You don't see a mass there to cause the assumed gravitational lensing, do you?
Right. Correct.
But you assume it requires mass to do it, right?
Well, we don't see that anywhere else. It's not an assumption.
Okay. What theory do we use to explain gravitational lensing?
We use relativity.
Okay. So because we use relativity to explain that effect of light and call it gravitational lensing, we see that effect of light where there is no mass, which is what's required for the relativistic explanation. What we do, because of the assumption of relativity, is we say there is mass there. It's just invisible.
No. Okay. So once again, you know, I understand you think that this is how it works, but turns out it's not. In this case, we see gravitational lensing quite a lot where we can see the mass. So we know that mass can cause gravitational lensing. You following me?
How do you know that? How do you know the invisible stuff's not just there as well?
Well, I don't know for a fact that the invisible stuff can't be there. I can't prove a negative.
Would the invisible stuff do it over there as well?
What do you mean?
If the invisible stuff causes gravitational lensing over here, where we can see no mass, then wouldn't the invisible stuff also cause gravitational lensing over there, where we can see some mass?
So, gravitational lens. In most cases, we can see the mass.
Why are you not addressing my question?
I don't understand your question.
Okay, so you're claiming that there's gravitational lensing, and oftentimes we can see the mass that's supposedly causing it because you're assuming that's the case. There's also many observations where we can see the mass, but there's way too much gravitational lensing. And there's observations where we don't see any mass, but there's what you call gravitational lensing. Okay, so in the latter two, you're calling it dark matter that's causing the gravitational lensing, or the strength of it being stronger than what would be predicted based on the visible mass. Okay, now that we've covered all that for the room, my question is very simple. If you're claiming where you see no mass, the gravitational lensing is caused by dark matter, the invisible stuff, then how would you know that there's not invisible stuff that you call dark matter causing the gravitational lensing, even where you do see some matter?
Because we have these things, we have this thing called math, okay? We have these things called the field equations. And just a minute, and it's from this theory you may have heard of called relativity. And what it means, and this is really important, is that we can calculate the amount of gravitational lensing that we should see for a given scenario. You see, unlike, well, a lot of things in this space, I guess I'll say, unlike a lot of things in this space, it turns out that being able to make predictions is a major strength of relativity.
Wrong, actually.
Yes.
So the majority of times that people claim to see gravitational lensing, it doesn't match the relativistic prediction.
Not
the
true.
Majority. No, it is true. It is true.
No,
I'm not done talking, dude. Why do you think you can?
For real, dude. Nobody even interrupted you that whole time, man. You got to stay on mute for at least 45 seconds. Let someone speak, dude. We don't want to keep muting people and all that. Omnivore, please. Go ahead, what's it?
Yeah, so the predictions aren't even actually accurate. But this is what's even funnier. How do they get the predictions? Normally what happens is they see what they are calling gravitational lensing, right? And then they look at the matter, the mass, and then they move around like the characteristics of that mass, like the density, the sizes, the distances, right? They have this huge leeway. They can move around what the mass is and how much mass is there, right? It's not like they just look out there. They have a machine that says this much mass and they stick to it rigidly. They don't. They see effects and they come up with all kinds of theories to change what the amount of mass is. That's what actually happens.
Citation needed for all of that.
Okay, watch how easy this is. How do you determine the mass of a distant galaxy?
I don't know how you determine the mass.
Okay,
of a
you're
distant
invoking
galaxy.
it.
But wait a minute. But wait, I do know how you determine the mass that you see in a for a gravitational lens. You use the field equations. I don't know how they weigh galaxies, but I know that.
So you use field equations which require variables such as what the mass is.
They do. However, we can do things like gauge the mass of like a quasar, a supermassive object, and when we see that, we are able to tell if what we're seeing makes sense within the model that we have for this or not.
How do we gauge the mass?
I'm not sure.
That was my question. Okay,
yeah, I don't know.
So you're making a claim that you don't know or understand.
Yeah, I don't know how we weigh galaxies. How do we weigh galaxies? What's it?
You said that I was wrong and you need a citation, but you just don't even know.
Yeah, I do need a citation.
Okay, but you don't know that I'm wrong, though, right?
I think I do know that you're wrong, because I think it's pretty obvious that if you were not wrong, you would actually be able to provide the citations that you claim.
Well, first of all, I can easily provide citations for that. I am back in the car right now, trying to quickly run an errand for my family.
I called it.
I don't care what you called, dude. You think that I'm supposed to drive a 10-hour trip, jump out of my car, and sprint to my PC for Omnivore, who's trolling the chat?
But he
Is
called
that
it.
what you think? Is that how you think my life should go, Omnivore?
Yeah,
what in the world?
I think that you should probably get in the habit of providing citations or not making claims. Is what I
I'll
think.
provide citations all the time.
You just made a claim.
No, you don't.
Omnivore, you just made a claim, Omnivore, about gauging about the J.
Interrupt this whole conversation. Please, mods, if y'all are here, please don't allow this.
Yeah, Whitson, how dare you use life-threatening hurricanes as an excuse to not
cite for Omnivore? Yeah.
Yeah,
no, because
it wasn't all the
this isn't my
time,
claim, dude. This is me being just honest about what they say. Okay, they say that it's well known that we're always trying to figure out what the masses are, and they're our best guess, and that they could change, and that we make discoveries that make us think, okay, that mass was wrong, that luminosity was wrong, that distance was wrong. This is how astronomy works fundamentally. This is literally how it works, bottom to top. So to claim that that's not the case, and then to later admit you have no idea how they do it, but you just know that it's not that way, is super disingenuous. And try to flip it around because I didn't immediately give you a citation while I'm in a car is just weird. It's obviously a tactic, and that's why the room's getting frustrated. It doesn't really matter. We can move on because it's a fact that gravitational lensing anomalies are where you get the claim of dark matter. Okay, they're anomalies, and the reason that they're called anomalies is because they do not match the relativistic prediction. That is fundamentally how you identify it as an anomaly in your paradigm.
Can I ask a question real quick?
So
is there anybody? I just asked. I swear I was talking. Swear I was about to ask a question. Is there anybody other than Omnivore who has an idea about relativity that can answer questions honestly, so we don't have to waste time going back and forth? Is there anybody?
Real fast, just to the room. I just want to reiterate this to the room. This is the most concise way to cut out this tactic here. It's like the gravitational lensings, for example, the way that they even identify it as being anomalous. Why do they call it an anomaly? An anomaly to what? Anomalous in what sense? It is that it doesn't match the relativistic prediction. That's literally how you identify it as an anomaly in the first place. So to claim that the anomaly isn't just us fixing what relativity doesn't match is fundamentally wrong.
It's not even close. That's the whole point. Like, it's not even just an anomaly. It's not even mathematically close. That's why they had to come up with this filler. They even call it a filler. It's like 90-something% filler. It's not even close in this instance when you're talking about galaxies and things that are far away or unknown, masses. Like, it's not even close.
The only rebuttal that you can actually make, like Steelman on their side, is that 1933 observation was just wrong. Like, that's it. Oh, that couldn't have been the case, but it's been verified.
That could be it, though.
Right?
That could be it, though. I mean, it could have been wrong. What if it was wrong? We need to start figuring that out.
Well, if it was wrong, then their methods for getting the mass of all these distant galaxies are wrong.
Right.
You know, so either way, they got a huge problem.
Right.
Also not true.
What if things are much closer and smaller? Like, what if that? It would still work, right? Even if it was a globe, right? You still had the sphere at the same size. If the masses were smaller, but they were also closer, it would work out the same. I don't know why they fight for things that don't even, like, it wouldn't even take away the sphere model, right? It would just change the math. It doesn't make sense, man. Relativity gave them that, and they don't use it, but they claim yet relativity is true. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, the original question I think Register put up was is that an ad hoc explanation where 99% of the math was wrong?
And he asked,
yeah,
they were asked to come up with another ad hoc explanation, and Omni never did that, or no one did it. It still hasn't been done. It can't be done.
Yeah, Omni, could you provide an example of another ad hoc explanation to show the difference?
I'll have to think of one. An ad hoc explanation for what?
Anything, literally anything, just so we have an
Okay,
example.
so yeah, sure. An ad hoc explanation for why the Nile overflows. Right? It's because the gods are angry.
Wow.
How's that?
I'm sure we were looking for like a real one.
Oh, you didn't like that one.
Yeah,
so his answer is he can't think of anything else.
I mean, you asked for any. I asked what you wanted, and you said literally any one.
A real one.
What about when Hubble looked out and saw only redshift? So they had a room full of people trying to figure it out, how we could not be at the center. And someone raised their hand and said, "What if we're on a balloon or a raisin bread?" And all the points spread out from all the other points with no evidence of it, of course.
Yes, that's precisely what happened.
Yep. So there's a good one. Too bad it hurts you again. Sorry, Omni.
I'm fine with it because unlike you guys, I actually know what happened with these situations.
Oh shit! Damn, give us some knowledge.
So what happened with that situation then?
You didn't even know how they determine mass.
What's that? I don't know exactly how they determine the mass of the galaxy. I know how they determine mass of things, but I don't know. I'm not going to. No, I didn't say that. What I said was, and this is important, the dark matter observation is cases where we see gravitational behavior, but we don't see the mass causing it. If it was the ad hoc definition that you guys are clinging to, then we would have an entirely different set of of hypotheses involved.
You mean that the wrong observation of what you thought how it should behave gravitationally? Is that what you meant to say?
No, not at all.
No?
Not at all.
Then do you see the dark matter?
So what we see when in the galaxy, when we look out there, is we see a lot of things behaving the way relativity says they should, like exactly the way it says they should.
Except when it came to those other spots, and then all of a sudden, an explanation. When I was in the middle of my conversation,
but even worse.
Okay, well, I'm still not done speaking, and you're still. I don't understand why you keep doing this, man.
Because even worse, what's happening?
You're interrupting, Omni. Why do you keep on going, bro?
Because
No, because. Elbow.
Yes, because.
Finish your sentence, please.
Yeah, I don't feel like engaging, man. This is just too much.
I know. I don't blame you.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, he's best. Yeah, for sure.
It sounded like what you were saying there, Omni, for a second, was that the math dictates to reality instead of the observation or the measurement dictating to the math. It did sound like that.
It may have sounded like that to you, but that's not actually what I'm saying. No.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
So can you explain it better?
Well, what I'm saying is, yes, I can. I can. So what happens is we see, for example, but you have to listen to the explanation. So, for example, when we're looking at dark matter, we see that it is unevenly distributed between galaxies. Whatever it is, the effect is unevenly distributed. Some galaxies behave exactly like we would expect them to, right? Some galaxies do not. Some galaxies display more of this anomalous behavior.
How can you observe dark matter?
We observe the effects. So, for example, we see gravitational lensing, but we don't see the mass causing the gravitational lensing. But we don't know of anything else that causes that kind of gravitational lensing.
So you just put an assumption to it, something that admittedly is made up as a filler, which you can't detect by smell, touch, any radio. Like there's no way to know it's there, except just assume.
Well, no. We see. So in a lot of cases, in a lot of cases, In a lot of cases, no, see that's where you guys. That's where you guys are. That's where you guys are missing it. That's where you're losing it.
Ad-hoc.
So what we see
is even theoretical. It's not even actual.
The observations are, I'm afraid to inform you, actual.
Yeah, it's an ad hoc explanation to it.
No, the observations are just the observations. That's just what they are.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yes, it is. Because what you're claiming is that they see this thing that doesn't work, and so they make up a reason to explain it. All right? That's what you mean by ad hoc, right? That they're making this up, quote unquote, as necessary to explain whatever the phenomenon is.
So why are you pretending that the observations are being contended?
Are being what?
Contended.
Contended?
Yes. Why are you pretending that the observations themselves are in contention?
I'm not pretending they're in contention.
They are, because you're saying, I hate to inform you, the observations are real, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time, talking about how your supposed explanation for the observations are just ad hoc by definition, admittedly by anyone that's intellectually honest, of course, because Dark Matter, I'm talking.
I'm telling you that you're
Omnivore.
Stop. Some mod, please.
The straw man attempt.
Can somebody deal with this guy? Because
if you don't cut this out, bro, we're gonna have to put you on mute, bro. You know the drill.
I was away from my desk. I apologize, guys. Go ahead, Witsit. Fuck.
Dark matter. I mean, saying like admittedly, because dark matter is not even defined, right? So, like when you say the god did something, at least you're specifically invoking a causal claim, right? A god, which actually has a definition. No matter how loose it is, a supernatural being. But you get into dark matter, it's literally not defined. Literally. So it is an egregious ad hoc.
So it's not. So I'm going to try to explain this. Without, and if I can get it out, then I don't think I'll need to interrupt anybody. Dark matter is an observation. What happens with oh shit. Okay, well I may have to go right now in a minute anyway.
Okay. Good. So dark matter is not an observation.
Dark matter is an observation. Yes, it is.
Where can I go observe it?
You can go talk to any astronomer who's doing cosmology.
I just talked to a PhD astronomer.
I've heard, and you misrepresent them, right? You can talk.
No, it's recorded. It's recorded on YouTube. Omnivore. He says that the reason it's called dark. He says the reason it's called dark is because you can't observe it.
Yes, you can't observe the matter. What you observe.
You just said that we can observe dark matter.
No, I said dark matter is an observation. Okay, a misunderstanding. Dark matter is an observation where we see the effects of gravity, effects that we recognize as gravity. Okay.
Wait. Can I still make your position? Let me. Hey, is this a stillman in your position? Dark matter is an observation that you can't observe.
Dark matter is an observation of gravitic effect that we don't see the mass for. When it's just galaxies spinning, it's real easy. It's really easy for you to say, oh gosh, they're making it up because it's all broken. When it's something like gravitational lensing or the cosmic microwave background, where it's not uniformly distributed. Sometimes we see the effects, sometimes we don't. The way that we would expect mass to cluster. Things like that. What fits the observational matter?
Just for data
is matter that we can't actually see. So anyway.
Yeah, okay. You said dark matter is an observation, and then you said that you can't observe it. Okay, and actually, what you're doing is you're trying to invoke an indirect observation, which is actually just an assumption. So you're making an indirect assumption based on an effect that you observe. And you can't even define what that assumption is. If that is not ad hoc, we must stow away our dictionaries.
Oh, he's gone. Thank God.
Yeah.
That was crazy, dude.
I thought he would do better after all that time training over there.
Hey, can I speak to what just happened?
Sure, bro.
So, I work in teaching people communications and negotiation skills, and so what what you're seeing happening there is he knows that the end result of the conversation means like that it's an argument against flat Earth and globe Earth, right? So he can't concede to any of the points that Austin's making, though they're all very well known throughout, the major scientific communities. They all know that this is, you have Stephen Hawking's and all these people admitting that geocentrism and heliocentrism are, they're equivalent to each other. But he's so stuck in his ways that he can't even say yes to simple questions because it's going to imply that Austin is right. So what you see is this attempt to dodge simple questions, and then it gets lost in the weeds and they have no clue where they're going. And they try to explain stuff that makes no sense, and so he ends up saying, oh well, dark matter's an observation, when we know that that's obviously goes against the name of the fucking thing that he's talking about, which is dark matter. Like, we know you don't observe it. So I just wanted to point that out because I hear it time and time again in these kinds of spaces, and I just want to be able to call it out for what it is. It's like they're incapable of saying yes, because if they say yes, they're conceding to your point. If they concede to your point, then the Earth must be flat. It's all a defense mechanism. That's all I'll say.
Which is weird because it doesn't mean that the Earth has to be flat. It's just like
no, it doesn't.
Scared.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but in their mind, that's what it means to them. It's a defense. Yeah.
Well,
in
some
their
people
mind, it's defense thing.
No, I hear what you're saying on the psychological level. Some people consider a very minor concession to be a weak thing, where actually it's a strong thing. It's actually strong to concede where there should be a concession. It actually makes the conversation go deeper. It's like going to a deeper level, and then it has good faith involved as well, because now you're like, okay, I agree on that, but then you would still have a point. Like, even if you concede to one part of it. So, but yeah, it's like for many people, it's like avoided as something that they think will make them look weak, but actually, if they were to concede something that should be conceded, that's actually a strength.
Yeah,
right,
concessions should be welcomed because it helps you strengthen your position.
Right.
But from my perspective, what I saw was, and I don't know why Omni goes 10 miles around the block to say that we see the effect of a gravitational effect on galaxies, and we can't see what's causing it, and we call it dark matter. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, but that's what we were saying.
Yeah. So, all right, let me ask the same question to Left Lane then. Would you consider that an ad hoc explanation?
No, I wouldn't. Not at that point.
Dark matter is not an ad hoc.
If there was, a better explanation, or someone has a better option, or something else that would explain, why the galaxies rotate the way they do.
Left Lane, that's an ad hoc explanation, bro.
I wouldn't call it ad hoc. No, I wouldn't call it ad hoc.
That's exactly what it is.
Well, okay, if you're welcome to think that. I don't think that, though.
How is that not? Go ahead, Gio.
Well, the term ad hoc means created or done for a particular purpose. So was the theory of dark matter created for a particular purpose?
Well, I mean, within the realm of what is understood about relativity and gravity and so on and so forth, and you see something odd, that is not acting right, but you just have to plug it in, and I guess it might be considered ad hoc to an extent.
It is.
Thank you, Left Lane.
But they don't have anything better. I don't know what else you could do with it.
But that's honest. That's being honest, Left Lane. That's all we wanted. The whole conversation was just an honest concession about it being an ad hoc explanation. It didn't need to take 30 minutes for that. So thank you, Left Lane. Appreciate it.
But there is the things that they do know, that the things that do work, like within our solar system. And it's not just like saying, oh, dark matter. They've got particular numbers, the pretty exacting numbers they put on it. No. And I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about it to defend it and say that, what it is outside of ad hoc, because, to me, I would have to say, yeah, it sounds like it's ad hoc, but I'm no expert either.
Can I read the definition of an ad hoc hypothesis real quick for the room here? Hypothesis added to a theory to prevent it from being disproven. For example, someone who wants to believe in leprechauns might add an ad hoc hypothesis like they are invisible or their motives are complex. It is the example used in the definition of an ad hoc hypothesis is exactly what they did for dark matter, which is like leprechauns are invisible. Right,
but
that's
if you
literally what
observed
they
it, which
did.
you would see,
It is literally a textbook example of an ad hoc hypothesis.
but if you observed it and you saw the same thing that they're seeing by description according to relativity, I mean, what would you call it?
They're not seeing anything. They have an assumption. They have a model that they assume is
I would
real.
say relative.
So
Yeah.
It's the whole thing was it wasn't what the prediction was. They had to add it so it could become part of the prediction now.
Yeah, so like when you asked me what I would do, I would say, "Oh man, turns out that our theory is wrong. There's more to it."
More to it is a good thing. I wouldn't say that currently the model is wrong because it still works, perfectly right here, in the local scale. But you know what I don't understand about all the space expanding and why is it not happening everywhere? Why is like is it Andromeda coming towards us? It's not moving away from us, but all these other things are moving away from us. And how can you tell where it's going to or where it came from if it's all moving away from one another? No matter where you go in the universe, everything's moving away from you. That's really puzzling to me. I think it's an illusion of some sort.
Bro. Yeah, exactly. Well said. How is it? If we're in a raisin bread puffing away, that's a good question there, Left Lane.
Left Lane put on his thinking cap today.
Just to quickly recap here. So in 1933, Fritz Zwicky looked at the Coma cluster and saw that it only had 1% of the mass needed to keep the galaxies from escaping the cluster according to the gravitational prediction. They then filled in the equation with that 99% missing mass and literally called it that, missing mass. The definition of an ad hoc hypothesis, which is fallacious, is a hypothesis added to a theory to prevent it from being disproven. How is that not exactly what happened? So the current state of relativity is fundamentally fallacious.
Yeah, but what about? I know, but could I push back? Go ahead. I was just gonna push back real quick. Yeah, but could you say that doesn't mean it's wrong? Just because it's ad hoc doesn't mean it's incorrect.
No, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. No, it just doesn't mean that it's correct. It means like you haven't even offered a valid explanation.
But I don't think that it's an effort to prevent it from being disproven. I think science is always looking for better explanations for everything they've got. So it's not a matter of keeping it from being. What's that? Hot mic. I don't think science wants to not be proven wrong. I think they always leave that door open for better explanations.
But this is what I'm trying to say, though. Like that's not true with certain things, such as cosmology and the Copernican principle and stuff. Because if that was true, if you always wanted to be wrong and you were unbiased and you were welcoming all evidence because truth is the only pursuit and that's what science is, it doesn't have a bias, blah, 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 then you would think, okay, we have this theory of relativity. It's working pretty well to help explain some of these things that we had problems with. And then you looked out and you saw that it was 99% incorrect. You would say scientifically, even though this is actually not science, this is observational alone, you would say with the scientific mind, you'd say, okay, that has now been disproven. Like what I was currently claiming wasn't accurate. So I now must get rid of it, right? Because it can't be true. There's no benefit in holding on to it for 100 years until I arbitrarily determine something's better. That makes no sense. That's not scientific. That's not what we do in science. We say, okay, that's obviously not what's happening. The evidence shows that's not what's happening. They did not do that. They did the opposite of that. They just plugged in missing mass and later called it dark matter. And the dark matter observations aren't even consistent. And where there should be this much dark matter over here, it doesn't make sense with the motion over there. And then where there should be dark matter with two galaxies, as they come close to each other, they don't slow down. Or they should if there's dark matter. And no one even knows what dark matter is. And it's been a century. I mean, dude, that is so antithetical to science.
But here's the thing, though. If we didn't allow this conversation outside the solar system, we wouldn't be having this conversation right here because relativity does work on our scale. The gravity and Newtonian physics and it being different, a force and not a force. Like describing the moon, and we call it orbiting the Earth. I can use that Einstein and say it's in a coordinate acceleration and get an answer, or I can use Newtonian physics and get the same answer. It's
I can use magnetism and get
it's
the same
still
answer.
usable. Well, I'd like to see that.
Okay, yeah, it's already been done. Andreas Cease, Lorentz magnetic force. So it's like I could just make up a new force and say it's ether. Yep. I could say that ether the vibratory nature of the motion causes a displacement in the ether, which creates like a gravity well.
A mass behind you, though, wouldn't it?
Sometimes it doesn't work. So there's like an additionally invisible portion of
Ad-hoc.
Whatever. It's just stupid and gay. So what I'm saying is like it doesn't make any sense though. If we want to figure out the truth, we should accept the truth, which is okay. That's not what's happening. There's something else that's going on. There's something that we can't even observe. It's not visible. That's causing some of these effects. So logically, you would say there's something invisible causing these effects, but the ether predicts that. An ether framework says, of course, most of what's going on is invisible.
But
most of what's causing these effects is invisible, but that's not what relativity says.
But wait, so are you accepting the scale and the topology of the proposed universe they're using?
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Then why pick apart their scale and their topology? Why don't you just come up with your own topology and your own math?
Yeah, just
because I'd have to make unfalsifiable, made-up claims about sizes and distances in the medium that I would never make because I know that they wouldn't be right.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with pointing out flaws in a model. You don't have to create a whole new one.
But you see what I'm saying? I've thought seriously about doing that because I know I could do it, and all the Globers universally say I couldn't do it, but I know I could do it because the framework's already been done for it. But the problem is I'm going to have to choose a medium. Let's say I choose superfluid, okay, and then I'll just choose varying magnetic strength, so my model will be superior because it doesn't matter how big it appears to be. If they appear to be the same size, one can be stronger than the other because it just has a stronger magnetic field. Whereas for them, if they're the same mass, they have to have the same gravitational force or field. I don't need that. And I could just I could do any mass and any distance and it would work. But I would never do that though, because why, right? Because there's no way I'm just going to sit down here on Earth and then somehow know the actual mass.
You'd have to propose a topology and a scale to it. That's the trouble, isn't it, Witsy? And you're not prepared to do that.
He just said he could.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to.
I thought about doing it with that big disclaimer on the first page. You know,
bet you any amount of money you don't.
Wait, are you? But is it because you think I can't?
No, but you just won't do it.
Well, but if you're going to actually bet me lots of money, I don't know, you said any amount of money, I'll do it for lots of money.
How much?
Hey, he's got a family to raise, bro.
10K.
10K from the Globers. Start a GoFundMe.
Get a GoFundMe.
Start a GoFundMe. I'll create a model. Yeah.
How much do you want?
10K.
Actually write something down.
No, yeah, I'll actually show the math for all of the motion of the planets.
Right.
At all scales, right?
Yeah, and dude, I'll even go further, and I'll do a couple galaxies.
Is it of any value to your community?
Those are bonuses.
I'll throw in a couple galaxies for you.
A bonus on the house.
Bonus galaxies. Go ahead, Pat.
There's no money in this. You need the money from the Globers for this. There's the only way you can make money.
Yeah, because I think it's stupid to do it personally because I know that it won't be correct. The only thing it would do is it would be a proof of concept. And you know what I'm saying? I'm actually trying to figure out the truth. So it's I got two little babies and bills, and why would I spend that much time and effort to do something I know isn't true?
I don't know what's it, but the Pazzo last statement sounds like he was trying to back off of it.
Well, besides
I've got $10,000. I'll just ask him how much. I haven't got $10,000.
Pazzo.
I mean, he told you right away he could just change the magnetic force, right, and to make it work. And then you're like, I'll bet you money.
What's the magnetic value? What's the magnetic value of a
whatever
planet?
you want it to be? Whatever you want it to be.
That's what you call ad hoc, right there.
Wait, time out. So if I say, look how strong the field is around that planet, because look at how much it's affecting what's around it. that must mean it's this strong of a magnetic field. That's ad hoc, but claiming that it's dark matter isn't ad hoc, or claiming that it must be this amount of mass because that's what my gravity predicts isn't ad hoc. Like, there is no difference in the two things at all. The only difference is that if it's something such as magnetism, it's way, way more viable. Because when I see the galaxies and there's only 1% of mass, that doesn't hurt my theory at all. That just means that there's a really strong magnetic field there for that little bit of mass. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. He can ratio it as he sees fit. So
what's the next step then? Because you obviously want to take this to a broader audience.
It's not the point. The point he's saying is that we could easily make the same amount of assumptions, yet it would be more viable with an electromagnetic force being the cause of attraction.
Yeah, again,
rather than gravity and mass, because it's
now that we're talking about it, I do see how it could be very valuable. If I'm like on a big platform, I'll just pull out the model and show them and say, look, I don't know these distances, but you absolutely could do it. This is how easy, and it would be better. It would be valuable for people kind of new to it because they need a replacement.
Would it corroborate with all the measurements and evidence as we've seen so far? Do you think very well?
What'd you say?
Would it corroborate with all the observations and evidences that we've seen in the when we're looking at the universe so far?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
I mean, that would be the goal, anyways, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Isn't that the goal?
Well,
yeah, but this is what's funny. It's like all the observations. What does that mean? There's like a billion of them. Like, there's not one single organization that does that at all for your side, right? They all do one little. But the flat earther should do the whole universe. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no, I'm just saying, no. All of us. I mean, will it comport to the astronomical observations we see?
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't change the observations, bro. It's just an explanation for the same observations, wouldn't it?
Sure, but I understand that you can't change the observations; they've happened. I'm just saying, would it comport to and reinforce the observation, so to speak?
It would comport with the angular position, probably not with the distances.
Okay, be interesting.
Oh, it could comport with distances even, though, because if you have a strong enough magnetic field, and this is what I'm trying to say. It's so obvious to me that this is so far superior in viability. It's wild that like we're just sitting here talking about it. How has someone else not had the balls to at least go down this road and figure it out? If I have, like, for example, I can have a magnet that's like the size of my car key, like my key fob, and then I can have a magnet like the size of my car, right? And I can make it so that the key fob is stronger.
Right.
Okay, so that means that no matter what size the mass is, it can do anything. It can pull huge things in by it. It can pull small things. It can have weak or strong. It's just based on the magnetic field itself, which actually comes down to like gyroelectric alignment, so like coherency, right? The coherency of that object. So just like a neodymium iron boron magnet, for example.
What would you?
Question about that? Oh wait, go ahead.
Question. That's pretty cool. That's awesome.
What would you do for black holes if we're assuming like the pictures of black holes they have are real? Well, how would you
center of a magnetic field? Center of a magnetic field.
Yeah, I know, but like why would it be glowing? Like why would the toroid be glowing?
It's not glowing. That's just added artistic.
You're saying assuming the pictures we see are true, which is like weird, but no, it would be similar to maybe a ferrocell, how there's just external light and there's some type of fluid there that the fluid's being displaced by the magnetic field, and the fluid itself is illuminating. And even though we literally don't see this, obviously, but like, you know how in a ferrocell, we're not actually seeing the magnetic field. What we're seeing is the ferrofluid being distributed in such a way based on the magnetic field, and then that fluid's being lit up, so we're able to see like the interference lines of the field because of the fluid.
My question, real quick, just wanted to ask this.
So it's like an absence, counter space, as it were. It's an absence of activity.
But you said
well, it's not completely absent. It's not completely absent, but it is kind of like the eye of the storm kind of thing. But yeah, go ahead.
You said it's about coherency. Could you explain that real quick? I'm just super curious.
Yeah. So basically, like, Imagine like a block with a bunch of different little molecules in it that are vibrating, and they have like an intrinsic electric resonance, and they vibrate. If you sent in like a current, a really strong current, say going from north to south, it's going to overpower the electric resonance of all the constituent parts of the matter, and it's going to line them all up in the same direction because it's just way stronger than that. So now you have like you actually have the energy being guided in a coherent way, as opposed to it being incoherent where it's just going every which way. So you have to use something to overpower the base resonance. This is how we make magnets. So you can have a piece of neodymium and it'll just be a piece of metal. It doesn't do anything. But then you can introduce voltage and you can actually make it a magnet. And the reason why is because you're overpowering the metal, right? Like basically, we'll just say molecules. You're overpowering them and lining them all up in the same direction. So now it's able to maintain like that centrifugal motion.
In what context do you think electrical resonance takes place in matter that's not in some sort of electrical circuit?
What?
In what context do you think electrical resonance takes place in just solid matter rather than some electrical circuit?
All matter is electrostatic, and that's what that is. That has a resonance.
Electrical resonance is usually defined to be it's a resonant frequency of impedance and resistance within an electrical circuit, isn't it? That's the way it's usually used.
Sure, but I mean, I'm using that term as what it actually means. Something to have a resonance.
I think it activates the field where it lines up with the background. You know, with the centripetal or the just pretty much the ether lines up with it. I mean, how else could you explain it without using a field?
So, well, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this. So essentially, a certain metal has a quote unquote incoherency, right? It's not magnetized, but if you put an electric force, if you electrify it, it makes it coherent, meaning the different parts of this metal now are coherent, creating a stronger magnet.
Yeah, they're all facing the same direction. It basically concentrates and guides the energy. So it's similar to like a light. Like you have an incoherent light, which would be like a soft light bulb, and then you can have a much more coherent. And it's not technically coherent or incoherent. There's just degrees of coherency, right? Or you can have a laser. A laser is super coherent light source.
So, from that standpoint, couldn't that mean anything could be magnetized, essentially?
Maybe in theory, if you had like I don't
mean?
know if if you had like an insane amount of power, maybe in theory, I don't know.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like, how could you overcome the, let's say, the current coherency of like a rock, for example? You know, let's just say a quartz rock. You know.
What do you mean by the? I mean, this is what gets me. I mean, coherency in science is used to describe a relationship between two entities, and you're using it for one. I don't get where you're getting that from.
What? Yeah, there's many different little constituent entities within the matter.
Right.
Yeah,
So you make what entities are you making coherent?
Yeah, you use either heat or electricity, and you're able to make the metal turn into a magnet. And it actually, you start the field in the direction that you introduced the electricity.
No, the lead question was, what are the constituencies of matter that you're making coherent?
Oh, good try. I said we'll use the word molecule. Okay, but I just got back to the house. I have to get... What's up?
Talk more later about it with
Oh wait, are these? But this is about like. Wait, do you think this could be used to replicate like a medium that would replicate the sky, like almost like a planetarium, but like with actual like sonoluminescent frequencies and magnetic fields? Do you think we could do that?
That would be super lit.
Literally.
I mean, why wouldn't it be possible if it's just scale?
Hey, I gotta unload this.
Wow.
The Globers are fuming right now.
No, I'm just.
That'd be amazing.
No, we're befuddled, really. I mean, you keep using words out of context.
Oh, but you guys invent dark matter?
I mean, we don't have to. We don't have to go at each other's throats for a second.
No, I'm not. No, there's no point now. I'm just saying.
I don't know, Paz. I was thinking that was going to be more constructive than it was, but you were just. I don't know. Maybe it was somewhere in there.
I'm just
saying. I thought you were trying to be more constructive rather than just debate, but I don't know which one.
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry, I got lost in the mist there.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that the sense in which coherency is used in all of science is to describe the relationship between two entities of a similar nature.
Yeah, but there's a thing in magnetism called incoherent and coherent magnets. So, like, it's that's already established as well. It's just a different kingdom.
It's called context, dude.
So
it's not in science. It's just it's how you speak about these types of magnetism. That's it.
Sure, but we were talking about just matter in general. Not all matter has magnetic properties.
Yeah, but he's trying to come up. Well, the idea is to come up with a magnetic model, and so in that reference, you'd have to use terms used with types of magnetism, which is coherency. So,
right,
it comes with the territory.
Okay, fair enough. Misapplying them is satisfactory in some respects, I suppose.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not really misapplied. It's just maybe, unfortunately, the paradigm you appeal to uses that word because it doesn't appeal to magnetism. So there's no cross reference there. It's in this case,
When you're saying multiple things, like they define light as coherent, laser light is coherent. So yeah, it's talking about the light rays themselves, I guess, But yeah, it can't be not